It's a few minutes after, and if anyone comes in late, that's okay. They'll just catch up. So first of all, yeah, big thanks to everyone for taking some time out of your busy days to join our webinar. Yeah, really excited to be bringing this to you, and we've got a special guest with us today. So I guess without any further ado, we'll make a start. What we're going to be going through today is I'll put together a bit of an agenda. So for those that don't know, my name is Mark Belkin. I'm one of the directors at Stratus Consulting. I've been working on MYOB solutions, enterprise solutions, exclusively for around 15 years. So we started off with MYOB Exo, which I think many of our clients here today are still using, and that's a really, really great product that we've been really proud to work with for a really long time, and still going really strong. And we have many clients that, in fact, you'll see in a second, the majority of our clients still using that solution. But over the years, we've obviously added other products to our suite, and MYOB in particular took on the MYOB Advanced solution, which we've been working with quite heavily for around 5 years now, and we've noticed a bit of a switch. So we're going to talk about that and what we've noticed as trends within our clients. And the main drive around all of that is the move to the cloud. So I'm going to be talking about why we're finding that our clients are moving to the cloud, what that means, what the trigger points are when our clients are saying, right, well, it's time to make that switch. And then a bit of a chat around how do you justify that move? Because it is a big change. It means getting rid of one system that you've been using, in some cases for over 15 years, and moving to something new. And it's a completely different style of technology. So, and the costs around that, and how do you get a return on that new investment and new project? So we'll go through all of that. And then introducing Val from MYOB, who has joined us today. And Val is going to talk about the different products and the move to the cloud from an MYOB perspective. He's got some slides and information to share from some research that MYOB has put together, and just give us a bit of an insight into how MYOB see the future of ERP and cloud technologies and what that means to all of you. And then from there, what I've put together is just a very, very brief look at MYOB Advanced. So we're going to be going through the highlights. So what I put together is just a few points there on some of the key differences specifically between MYOB Exo and MYOB Advanced, and some of the advantages that you might find of moving to a solution like that. And I've got a little bit of a live walkthrough of a particular process, just to give you a feel for what MYOB Advanced is like, and what you can expect in moving to a modern cloud-based solution. And then if time permits, we'll have some questions at the end. But then we're more than happy to catch up with any of you offline after today to answer any more questions that we don't have time for. So that's the plan for today. So we'll make a bit of a start. And the first thing I want to go through is client trends and why we've put this presentation together in the first place. And it's because we've found that, as I said before, over the last 15 years, Exo has been hugely successful. We've got a lot of clients on it. And over the last 3 to 4 years, though, that trend has shifted towards cloud-based solutions. So it's a bit hard to see in that graphic, but this is our total clients as it stands right now. And the purple there is MYOB Exo and the orange is MYOB Advanced. So you can still see Exo is going strong. We've still got all of our clients, the majority of our clients still on that solution. But if we take that graph and we just have a look at new clients that we've onboarded in, I believe, the last 3 years, you can see that graph completely turn around. And so over the last 3 years, almost all new clients coming on board have been going to MYOB Advanced, with not very many moving to MYOB Exo. There are still some, and that's where there are particular industries where Exo still works really well and there isn't an equivalent solution. And so, over time, we expect that obviously our total client base will start to shift the other way. And so what we want to do is make sure that all of our Exo clients are informed and understand the differences between them and can make the move at the right time, when it suits you and when there's a real reason for it. And so that leads on to the next slide. So when is the right time? When would you want to make the move from a solution like MYOB Exo, which you've been using for a long time, you're probably quite familiar with, to a cloud-based solution like MYOB Advanced, for example? And so we've got these kind of key reasons that we've found that our clients are making the move. So I'll just talk through some of these briefly. And one of the key ones here is the server itself. With MYOB Exo, you're expected to maintain your own infrastructure. And so you've got to stay on top of that. You've got to have IT experience. You've got to be, managing your own backups. And so that takes ongoing maintenance to do that properly. Otherwise, you can't make full use of the system. So that's one thing. And then eventually you get to a point where your current server needs to be replaced. And, it's reached end of life. And sometimes the investment to take on a new server and all of the services and software that are around that can be, $20,000, $30,000, depending on the size of your organization. And that's quite a significant investment up front. And so what we're finding, a lot of clients saying, well, instead of doing that, I'm maybe better off looking at a cloud-based solution where it's just a monthly licensing fee. And then I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't need to worry about security. I don't need to worry about backups. It's all taken care of for me because it's a software as a service or a SaaS solution. So that is one of the biggest trigger points at which we find that clients make the move. It just rolls around to that time when you've got to make that big investment. And it's just a choice of, do I do it and stay with what I've got? Or maybe now is the time to move and use that money to invest in the project to implement the new solution. The other thing that can sometimes happen is you find that investment into new features in software does drop off. So, whereas Exo is still supported by MYOB and is still coming out with new versions, at some point, older packages do reach their end of life, and they're just not going to get as many features in those as you would with a newer solution, which is still at the start of its life. And so there are things that, whilst MYOB Exo is, completely compliant, and there's a lot of work that was done into modernizing it just recently for those that have moved to the newer versions, there just aren't as many features and modules being added to that as you would find with MYOB Advanced, where there are, a huge amount of development that goes into that solution constantly, and so you get the benefit of all of that being on a cloud-based package where the upgrades just roll through for you. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that we're finding is ease of use. Just in general day-to-day life, you're using the internet for everything. You are using a web browser to access your banking, shopping, you name it. And so you'll find that staff coming through your business will be familiar with technology that runs within a web browser. When you take a new staff member and you show them a solution that's, an older style desktop application, they are just not familiar with it. They will find it harder to use. It's not as intuitive for them. And so it's really kind of a generational change. You're finding that people are coming into the business and it makes it harder for them to use those older style applications. And so by moving to a cloud-based application that runs within a web browser that you can access from everywhere, it's just more natural to younger people coming through businesses. They just find it intuitive. And so being able to attract those sorts of employees is another driver why some people want to move to a more modern package. And we do find that a fair bit. And then, of course, with COVID hitting, that is just become a huge impact, not so much the style of it, but more just being able to access your software from anywhere. Being able to work with anywhere that has a web browser and internet has been critical. You have to have that, these days with almost everyone, working from home, at least part-time. And so that has really escalated things, particularly over 2020 and now into 2021, and we don't expect that to change. I think everyone's sort of accepted that moving forward, it's going to be perfectly normal to work from home, if not all the time, at least some of the time. And so having a software package that allows that really easily without having to manage server logins and VPNs and things like that, but is still secure, is really important. And then some of the other points on here is integrations. We find that nearly all of our clients have some sort of integration to a third party, whether it's an e-commerce website or an external reporting tool or a specialized package. And all of those applications connect and talk via APIs. And whilst MYOB Exo actually does have an API that you can install and can communicate out to external packages, it's not as complete and not as widely used as with MYOB Advanced. So if you had a look on the MYOB website of the App Store, you'll find that there are quite a number of third-party apps that connect with MYOB Exo, but there's probably triple that number and growing that connect with MYOB Advanced. Just because of the technology used, it's easier, and other vendors externally are looking at, you know, what effort's going to be involved in connecting, and it's just a lot easier for them to connect to MYOB Advanced because it's a more modern technology that's used in the background. And so you're able to make use of best of breed tools for, you know, say e-commerce marketing, so on, that will then seamlessly connect with your core application, which is the ERP. And so that is sometimes a big driver for people to move to a technology like that, because it forms the base. You've got the, you know, say MYOB Advanced as your base application, and then it connects out to everything else that you need. We'll share some details there at the end. We do next week are running actually another webinar with some of our, you know, top tier ISVs as well, and talking about some peripheral applications that work with solutions, but won't go too much into that today. So there's a bit more there, but hopefully it sort of makes sense that these are the key reasons that we're seeing from our clients of why they're looking to move, and it's those trigger points that are then causing that decision. So the idea today is we're you know, talking through that and giving you a bit of an overview of what's possible, and then you know, we just want to make sure that everyone's aware of these technologies and products that are available so that you can make the right decisions. Return on investment. So when you're moving to a cloud-based solution like MYOB Advanced, there are some things to consider, and there is going to be a cost involved in that transition. So one of the things that you need to consider is the comparison of costs between what you're paying now with MYOB Exo versus what you would be paying on a new solution. And it's not just a matter of saying, well, this is my annual license fee for Exo and this is what the per license fee is for Advanced, and making a comparison, because it's quite difficult. You'll find that the licensing models are quite different. With MYOB Exo, it's an upfront cost, which you've probably already paid, sometimes well in the past, and then you've got a fixed annual fee on a per concurrent user basis. With MYOB Advanced, there are a whole lot of different role-based licenses, and they are a monthly fee. So it is a much more flexible structure, and all of the costs are spread out. There's no upfront cost essentially other than the implementation. So it is it's monthly per user and based on the type. So it is a tricky job, and we do, you know, we're here and available to help you make those sorts of comparisons, and it takes a little bit of work. We've got to sit down and have a look at each person and what their role is, because not everyone needs to be a full user. With MYOB Exo, we find that most of our clients just have everyone with kind of a finance license with access to everything. But MYOB Advanced, if you're in sales, the cost is about half that of a full user. And so we would typically sit down and try and work out and compare those differences. But then the other thing to take into account is the IT costs and maintenance. When you're on an on-premise solution, you're responsible for backups, for the server. There's a constant charge from your IT provider, and hardware costs and software costs, keeping all of that up to date. And so that needs to be taken into account, because essentially when you move forward, those costs disappear. And that's all done by MYOB. They take care of all the backups. And so that needs to factor into the ROI equation to make sure that you're, you know, truly comparing the two solutions moving forward. The other one, the other two that I've got noted here are not that easy to measure, but they're things that, you know, need to be taken into account, and they're a little bit subjective. One is in scalability. When you're on an on-premise system, you are really limited by your capacity within the server. You're limited by licenses that you've purchased. And so there's not usually a move to suddenly put on and take away licenses. It's generally pretty static, and you find workarounds and ways to deal with, you know, times when you've reached your capacity of software licensing. Whereas when you move to a SaaS solution, it is completely scalable. If you have a requirement for an extra 10 licenses for a few months, you can do that. There's much more flexibility in the licensing, where you can go up and down as required, but also growing into teams with more limited licenses. So we have the ability to add, for example, employee licenses with MYOB Advanced that come in a block of 300 for a nominal fee. And so you can issue that license to almost everyone in your organization and give them access to do things like raise purchase orders and approve documents and enter time. So there's a lot more flexibility in the licensing, which makes a SaaS-based solution a lot more scalable. And so it's able to adapt with changes in your business environment, especially at a time like now when things change a lot. You know, where previously you may have had a solution, you know, a workaround where people can, you know, take a piece of paper to someone's desk and say, I need a purchase order for this. Now with everyone scattered all over the place and working from home, it might make much more sense for people to just punch their own purchase orders into the system and have them go through an approval process, but you don't want to pay for a whole bunch of Exo licenses for people to do that. And so they're the sorts of things to consider that can, you know, it's very difficult to compare them, but they can offer you much greater flexibility. And then the last one is employee satisfaction, which again is very, very hard to measure, but you know, there are lots of studies that show that employees who are satisfied with the tools that they use and can use them effectively will be more satisfied, will stick around, will be more efficient in their role. And so that's another thing to consider, which you know, you can't put a dollar figure on, but it's something that needs to be taken into account in the equation. So they're just a few, but we're more than happy to work with any of our clients one-on-one to make the comparison, to figure out what the best licensing model would be when you're ready to make the move. And then from there, we can help you work out what the actual ROI would be on a new solution. So from there, I'm going to flick over to Val at this point.
Thank you, Mark. Let me take over the screen.
No worries. While Val's getting ready, so Val is actually the head of enterprise for MYOB. So he's probably give you a bit more of an intro on what his role entails, but essentially he looks after all enterprise products, including Exo and Advanced. So over to you.
Thanks, Mark. And I think that was a really good summary around what trends you're seeing and also kind of what trends we're seeing across the entire market. My screen sharing is coming through. Perfect. So yeah, as Mark mentioned, I'm the head of product for enterprise at MYOB, and I am the one who's responsible for kind of all the various products that we offer to our mid-market customers, be that Exo, Greentree, Advanced, or Pay Global, which is one of our big payroll products. And as Mark mentioned, the move to the cloud is definitely something that we are well and truly on, and we are seeing across a whole range of different customers. So when Mark kind of mentioned that I could be a special guest today, I thought I'd definitely take the opportunity to kind of share the things that we're seeing, and also starting to share kind of what's possible if you do make the transition across to Advanced, and then also just to touch lightly on kind of how we are continuing to support customers on the Exo product. So as we kind of reflect, and obviously for many of you, you've been MYOB customers for a very long period of time, so I don't need to introduce who MYOB is necessarily, but I think it's worth kind of reflecting on who we are at the moment and also who we are becoming over time. So for us, our mission is very much to help businesses in Australia and New Zealand start, survive, succeed. And we see in the mid-market space, where most of you all are, is where we see that the push is to help you succeed and help you kind of achieve your ambitions through the solutions that we provide. One of the areas that kind of I was surprised when I actually joined MYOB a couple of years ago was actually the breadth of customers that we are supporting in this space. So there are kind of 4,000 businesses who are using MYOB's ERP solutions that equates to kind of 65,000 customers. And if you kind of reflect on how that magnifies in regards to kind of the volume of transactions that are being performed on underlying MYOB systems, it's kind of $11 billion and 1.3 million employees paid through MYOB's products. So the scale of businesses that we see across Australia gives us real insight into kind of what we are seeing across the market, and also what are the commonalities and challenges that we are seeing more broadly, and how can we provide solutions that give you both the flexibility and the benefit of having a kind of highly scalable solution, while also allowing you to kind of tailor to meet the needs of your specific situation. So if we think about the MYOB product, the way that we think about it is very much as a business management platform. And you'll see us continue to refer to the Advanced Business Management Platform, which is our go-forward cloud solution. When we think about business systems, there's kind of 4 key aspects that we see as being critical. So one is around it being in the cloud. So obviously, for many of you, you're currently on Exo, which is not a cloud product, and you're most likely very happy there, as we hear from many customers who are on Exo. But for some, as you look towards the future and you look towards capabilities that you feel like you will need, as Mark mentioned, a lot of those solutions will become available in the cloud ERP solution as opposed to the on-prem. And that gives you all of those benefits that Mark mentioned earlier, so I won't spend too much time there on the benefits of cloud. One of the others is around real-time visibility. So people are going to continue to be working from home and working from anywhere. And that has its challenges. It also has its opportunities in terms of where you can get access to talent. But it also starts to set a new bar in terms of expectation of visibility of performance. So an ability to understand across the business exactly what is going on is something that you definitely get the benefit of. Secondly is making sure the solution is designed for Australian and New Zealand businesses. So there are others out there who are well and truly kind of global generalists who are building solutions that are trying to be generalized across the entire globe, which fundamentally translates into, when you try and apply them into an Australian or a New Zealand context, there's just a lot of work that's required to make them work for you. So what we've done very much so, and this is where, as some of you may know, the Advanced platform has components of Acumatica inside. With us, you kind of get the benefit of both. You get the benefit of having some global capabilities which are made available through Acumatica, but then we've done the heavy lifting to kind of tailor it into an Australian, New Zealand context. And then Stratus does that final piece in terms of making it work perfectly for your business. And then the final aspect, which is new for ERP solutions, especially for those who have used ERP in the past, is that the breadth of an ERP solution has broadened. So no longer is it just a financial management system used by finance or payroll to manage accounts payables or accounts receivables. It's actually extending dramatically. So you'll see us talk about manufacturing capabilities, construction capabilities, professional services. This is where we aren't just tailoring the financials, we're actually extending it into the workflows that you would be using kind of in front of house. So if you're a construction business, as an example, our new capabilities in that space allow you to actually also manage the projects themselves and manage specific tasks that are done in that way. So in totality, what that really means is when you get onto this business management platform, you have things that you have previously seen in an ERP, a payroll, or a workforce management, all combined, all connected into one solution. So we actually did some work recently that I thought would be valuable to share with you, that was done by Forrester, to actually understand, like, what is the scale of challenge that exists today due to businesses sitting on what is essentially legacy systems. And what we found was actually quite surprising in regards to the extent of the challenges that exist because of this. So from our research, what we found was there was actually 12.5 hours wasted per week per employee due to these disconnected systems. So what was happening in this instance is, and initially when I got the survey results, I was like, that's difficult to believe, right? That's more than a day, a week of people being unproductive. But then if you reflect on the time that people may spend pulling data out of systems, combining it to create kind of management reports, or the time that's spent by a financial controller, often after 5 p.m., 6 p.m., trying to make the data kind of do what they want so that they can provide those management reports, you can truly believe those 12.5 hours being wasted by your team as opposed to being focused on productive time. And if you scale that up, what that means for a 50 employee business is about $1.3 million of productivity lost, 100 employees, $2.7 million. And if you look at where businesses want to go, a lot of them haven't started to make that move to the cloud. 54% haven't, 45% are still kind of working on siloed and disconnected systems. And also kind of surprisingly, 38% of those believe that their solution does not meet the needs of their business. So the challenge is there. people kind of understanding kind of what they need to do is there. And what we found is kind of, well, why aren't people making that shift? And one of the aspects was having a clear case for change. So they know it hurts and they never want to change, but like, or why should I change? And what Forrester had was, and this is some work that they did globally, and they assessed businesses who were on what they defined as future fit platforms, which Advanced is, versus companies that are not on it. And what they found were those businesses in the exact same industry who are on future fit platforms versus who are not grew 3.2 times faster. So for certain businesses, growing 3.2 times faster than your industry peers is actually ends up being a bit of survival in regards to how you continue to stay competitive. And Forrester found that being on the right system can have that degree of impact. The other thing that came out of that work was also around the benefits associated with having unified systems through its ability to break down silos across businesses. So often what we saw and what they saw was the fact that across various businesses, people are living in their own system, and almost by nature, because the systems aren't connected, the activities and the workflows aren't connected, and therefore the people aren't. So by actually using a unified system and having consistent information flow across the business, what you benefit from is actually greater collaboration across the entire business. And then finally, which is kind of where the dollars come out, is what was recognized very much were the ability to capture time savings and increase employee productivity. So what they saw was people who did adopt a unified approach that both business and people management systems saw those savings and essentially saw those costs that I described earlier essentially removed from their business over time. So if you kind of step back and say, okay, so what makes up the MYOB Advanced platform? And you can really think of it in two components. So there are the horizontal solutions. So there are capabilities in there which we would call business management, which resemble an ERP solution. So these are things around financials, accounts receivables, accounts payable, inventory management, which exist in there. Then you have solutions around people management, so enabling payroll, onboarding, and activities like that. Then you have areas around financial services, and then also a very broad marketplace of apps and activities that you can connect to that go beyond the extent of what Advanced offers. On top of that, you then also have industry solutions. So if you're in manufacturing, construction, or professional services, we have additional workflows that, as I mentioned earlier, that go beyond just what exists in those horizontal solutions. So to give you some examples, if you're in manufacturing, material resource planning is something that exists inside those modules. Or if you're in construction, project costing is something that lives inside that module. And over time, what you will see us continue to do is not only invest in strengthening the capabilities within those horizontal solutions, but you'll also see us broadening the offering within specific industries. So it's very difficult for me to describe all of the features that exist in Advanced because I've only been given a 10-minute slot, so I'll get the wrap up too quickly. So, and Mark's kind of also going to give you a bit of a demo later on. The one for me that kind of I was reflecting on, like, what would be one of the things that really pulls people out in terms of coming from Exo to Advanced, and one of them is actually visual dashboarding. So within Advanced, dashboarding is extremely easy because all of the data lives within those systems. So if you want to fire up a dashboard that kind of demonstrates to salespeople how they are performing relative to quota, but also to help communicate to them where are they up to in terms of the deliveries to their customers. No longer are they flipping between a CRM solution and flipping to kind of inventory management and a warehouse solution. You can actually bring all of that into one dashboard. So it gives that salesperson in your team the ability to access all of the information. Secondly, because it's all connected, if I'm running a management report, I'm not running a management report as of 3 days ago. If I've set up my dashboard on my reporting, I can actually just go directly into the system and I'm looking at live reporting. So the ability for you to have that end-to-end visibility across your entire business in a single place is just one of the things that, one of the many things actually that Advanced can kind of help you improve on relative to other solutions. Now, one of the other areas that I wanted to touch on is that this capability has been around for a while. So you aren't at this stage kind of early adopter trying something that is extremely novel. There are aspects of the solution that are novel because we're always adding new capabilities, But Advanced is an extremely robust solution that has many customers who are very happy using it, and also has the ability to grow and stretch. So there are customers on this solution who are using it for very large businesses, and we're extremely confident in its ability to kind of support the vast majority of the customers that we have today. And its ability to kind of extend even beyond that through its open APIs also means that you can kind of go even beyond what's possible in its platform itself. Now, one kind of final note that I did want to leave you all on is what we completely recognize is that our customers each have their own context and each are going through their own digital transformation. There are some who are moving very fast, there are some who are moving slower. And one of the things that I did want to reassure you all on is the fact that we will continue to support our existing customers on their existing solution. Now, as Mark mentioned, we will support existing functionality through minor updates. So things like enhancing extra fields to kind of add user-defined fields. So we will make tweaks, and we will also make enhancements upon really critical customer feedback. So one that kind of was recently was actually negative stock notification. So this was something that was quite common. So we decided to kind of make those investments. And you'll see those in those 4 releases per year. Now, for the complete list of kind of what's in each of those releases, like reach out to Stratus and they can kind of take you through, because it's easier for them to basically contextualize what matters for you versus what may not. So that will continue to occur. But the thing here is, if you want the latest, that's likely to be in the Advanced solution as opposed to Exo. So that's kind of one of the drivers for you to consider. Is there that something that you want that kind of will pull you across and kind of make that investment to go to Advanced kind of and avoid that essential server upgrade cost? The other thing that's also really important is that these enhancements are only available in the latest version of Exo. So we kind of support current year in the last four releases. So one of the other things as well is making sure that your solution on Exo is also up to date. So you're actually benefiting from those investments that we are making in the Exo platform. Otherwise, you are kind of getting stuck in the past a little. And then the final thing I'd say is, once you have made the decision to make the transition, what's important for us is also supporting our loyal customers through that digital transformation. So this is around ensuring that you have access to the data that you need as you're going through that digital transformation. So making sure that you don't lose that capability and that access, which may be the case if you move to an alternative vendor, because that's something that we see as quite important. A lot of you are, as actually Mark mentioned, have been with us for a decade plus, and we kind of really appreciate all that support, and hence we want to make sure that as you make that transition, we make it as smoothly as possible and you don't lose access to that data. The other thing for us is how do we make it smooth? So we have many customers who we know will eventually move off Exo onto Advanced. So we will be investing in kind of the enablement tools to make it as easy as possible to kind of make that transition. Now, I'm not going to underestimate the change management that's required in terms of moving from an ERP solution, because that would be unfair. But the reality is we will make that as smooth as possible, because we understand the Exo solution very well and we understand the Advanced solution very well. So helping you kind of navigate that transition through our partners is going to be really important for us. So that's all I had to kind of share today. I think that the thing that I do want to leave you with were 2 points. One was around, as you look to make your digital transformation, think of it as a business transformation first, and then look at how technology can help support you. And this is where kind of Advanced and the solutions that we've discussed will be able to help. And the second thing I want to leave you with is making that transition kind of from Exo to Advanced is something that we see as important, and therefore we will be there to kind of support you as you make your way through. So Mark, I think I might hand it back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Val. That was awesome. Yeah, it's really good to hear this sort of stuff directly from MYOB. So yeah, really, and I know you're particularly busy, so I really appreciate you making the time to come and join us. Hopefully technology doesn't fail and we can. Hey, there we go. All right, so I'm just going to continue on, and then what I'm really doing from here is just doing a little bit of an overview of MYOB Advanced. So for those that haven't seen it at all before, MYOB Advanced is, MYOB's flagship cloud solution is completely cloud-based, so it's run from within a web browser. There's no requirement for anything to be installed anywhere. You just get provisioned your own URL, and then we set up your companies within that, and then away you go, and you can start using it from there. This is kind of what it looks like. So this is just a kind of standard dashboard, but as Val mentioned earlier, you can draw data from anywhere within the system and have different dashboards for different roles that just show you live information at a glance from all different areas within the system. And this is the first thing you see when you log in, and then you can access different versions that as you navigate throughout the system. And also just a quick note on that sort of interconnectivity with other applications. MYOB Advanced also supports a full two-way integration with Microsoft Power BI. So some of you may already be using that, but essentially it's Microsoft's flagship business intelligence and reporting tool, and it connects to thousands of other applications. So you can actually build reports in Power BI that connect information from your website, from your Google Ads feed, from your finance system, from your CRM, and put it together into a meaningful report, but then display that information back inside MYOB Advanced, so you're not going off to external places to look at it. And that's that sort of connectivity that you get with a connected cloud-based solution. Then I'm going to step through just the really sort of high-level things here. We don't have time to go through absolutely everything, but one of the really, really big differences we find and is significant time saver in a lot of industries is managing multiple companies. So with MYOB Exo, for those of you that have multiple companies, you'll know that you have to log into a particular company to work. They're separate databases completely. A change you make in one doesn't reflect in the other. They're all independent of each other, and you can't really report on them together. They are just separate databases. They may as well be separate programs altogether. And so what the difference here with MYOB Advanced is they all sit within one. So your companies are set up within a list there, and it's just the individual transactions that are posted to a particular company. And you can also post transactions between companies as a single entry, and the system does the intercompany entries for you. You can add more companies as needed. It's just a matter of punching in the basic company details, and it's ready to go. It shares all of the chart of accounts and master data structures, etc. And so for multi-company businesses, this is a huge time saver. It can also be a huge licensing saving as well. We've had some clients in property development and industries like that where it's not uncommon to have 80 or 90 entities for all different projects on the go, and where previously they would have all been separate MYOB files, impossible to manage, whereas here they're just companies all within the one system. So that is quite a big difference. And then when you're flicking between them, it's just a drop down at the top of your screen. There's no logging in and out. You just set your default, and then you can work in that company and just work away all within the one system. Another big difference is in the inventory management. So warehouse management and inventory management in general in MYOB Advanced is extremely powerful. It has the ability to handle multiple warehouses and large warehouses with multiple locations within them, multiple bins, multiple picking routes, and completely built into the system is a warehouse management solution that can run on the mobile app. So that can be, on a mobile phone for quick lookups or on specialized devices with scanners and grips. And so that is no longer a third-party application that you need to connect. You can do that all within the system. You can create wave picking and standard picking and packing, receipting and stock taking, all done completely within MYOB Advanced, either through the browser or through the mobile app, which is part of MYOB Advanced as well. So that's another really big difference we find, whereas with Exo, for example, that would always have been a third-party solution that you have to bolt on, which is extra cost, and then also, it is a disconnected application that sometimes has its own challenges. Then we've got peripheral modules. So Val did touch on some of these, but these are the ones we find that are the big drivers for customers to move across. So CRM. which we're going to have a deeper look at in a second, is very, very powerful within MYOB Advanced and is completely mobile. CRM is the, you know, if you had to pick one module in a system that you want to be accessible from anywhere, it's typically the CRM, because it's salespeople who are often out and about visiting clients and want to have access to that information immediately wherever they are, being able to, you know, place an order, do a quote, look up a customer, you know, manage their appointments. So having that on an on-premise system is very difficult and tends not to be used. Whereas with MYOB Advanced, that is completely available through the mobile app or through the browser, but all in the cloud. And so the adoption of the CRM and the power of the CRM is, it's just much greater. It's not comparable. And so that is a big driver to move to a solution like this. We have other specialized modules, so field service management for anyone that needs to manage customers' equipment or your own equipment and then service it. We have a full module available for that. The marketing suite is completely built into MYOB Advanced as well. So that includes things like list management and campaigns and lead tracking before it gets passed into the CRM and then goes essentially into the opportunities area. And again, we're going to delve into that a little bit deeper. We've got a fixed assets register, which is completely embedded into the solution as well. So you can manage your assets and depreciation of assets all within the one system. And time and expenses as well for any professional services businesses or anyone, even just with a mobile sales team that want to be able to record expenses while out on the go, take a photo of your receipt, lodge it through for reimbursement or charge it to a corporate card. That is all available completely within the solution as well, and available to that very lowest level of user license, which is the employee user. So it is a very cost-effective solution as well, and saves a lot of admin time by having that all within the system. There is a lot more, but again, I'm just sort of focusing on the main ones here. And then to help visualize all of this, and really the key to the difference between these solutions is the way that MYOB Advanced works in its workflows. And so what I've done here is I've just pre-recorded yesterday a little bit of a video of a very common transaction flow. I've used the CRM because it's something that I think applies to really any industry. And what I'm going to do here is take you through the process of getting a lead, recording it, allocating it to a salesperson, and then kind of pushing it through into the sales pipeline. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like within MYOB Advanced. All right. Bit hard to see there, but we've basically recorded a lead. We've put in all of the details. We've got Scarlett Johansson there. She called in. I've qualified Scarlett as a valid lead for Stratus. And record a note there, so everyone in the organisation knows that I've actually called and qualified, and so that's all recorded there. And then we're going to convert that to an opportunity. So automatically in the background, the system is going to create a prospect record and a contact record for me. So that goes off into my database for future marketing and has now converted that through to an opportunity. And then I can assign that to a salesperson and move it through to another sales stage. And then I can record a note there to say that I've pushed that through to an opportunity and assigned it. So again, all these notes are visible to everyone in the organisation. So if anyone looks up this record, we can see it all there. And then I can also add in a task. So this system integrates with Office 365. And so that will create a to-do item in my Outlook with a reminder to call back Scarlett next week. And that will pop up a reminder for me to do that wherever I am. That can be on my mobile or logged into the actual application. And that's it. So hopefully you could all see that okay. It's a really seamless workflow, and that's something that has evolved in MYOB Advanced over time, where you're not clicking from screen to screen, you're starting at a logical point and then following the steps, following the processes through the system in an intuitive way to record information, which is available for everyone, but also use it as a management tool. So like in that example there, I've set a reminder for myself that will pop up and remind me to call next week. And there's lots and lots of examples. This is not just exclusive to the CRM. This is right throughout the whole system. So it's often used in finance and receivables for, managing, clients said they're going to pay next week. So I'll put in a reminder to chase that up, and all the notes around that. So they're visible right across the organization. So hopefully that gives you a snapshot, but again, that is the style of the application. The idea of picking that is just to show you kind of what it looks like, but we're more than happy to organize to show you, all aspects of the software, but obviously we just haven't got time to do all of that today. And then before we sort of move into questions, just highlighting the industry editions. So there's a few here. Val did mention a couple of these before, but the manufacturing edition, we're having a huge amount of success with. We've got some really innovative companies that are implementing this. And when we say manufacturing, it is a true full manufacturing solution. It allows you to set up multi-level bill of materials, requirements planning, capability to promise, production scheduling, shop data data collection on the floor. So actually tracking your manufacturing through different work centers and processes to know exactly where it's at, tracking scrap and wastage. So it's designed, again, it's got your normal finance engine underneath it, but then it's got all of the inventory and manufacturing capabilities that sit above that and are designed to work all the way through to the manufacturing floor. So that one we're having really a lot of success with in various industries, and so that's quite widely available. The construction edition also, I think Val touched on this one before, but it's again all of the finance, but then taking advantage of the strong project accounting module, but then extending it out to the field. So it has things like daily site diaries and photo logs and site issues and requests for information and all the different things that a construction-based business would need. And that's available as its own edition. And even things like the terminology that it uses are specific to that industry, so it's more meaningful. And then retail edition is also coming soon, but we already have solutions for retailers. Stratus essentially taken on distribution of a product called One Retail. So we have a point of sale solution that is available that works with MYOB Advanced. And then there is all the other components of it in the background, like loyalty and gift cards, and connections through to various e-commerce, because most retailers these days are not just in-store, but also online. So we're able to feed orders through from virtually any shopping cart you can think of, and then supply those orders out or do click and collect delivery through our One Retail solution as well. And then there's going to be more industry solutions to come in the future, but they're just the ones that are kind of available now. So that's really the end of the presentation for today, but we have left some time for questions. I did see something come through in the chat, but I'll open it up now. So if anyone does have questions, please do feel free to just pop it into the chat, and then I will I'll see those and I'll answer them. Or if Val's still on the line with us, so if it's something specific to MYOB, we can bring Val back to answer any questions as well. So one question that's just come through was around integration with HubSpot from Wayne, and yes, that is absolutely available. That's a native integration with MYOB Advanced, and you can integrate companies and contacts and leads back and forth with HubSpot. There is also a native integration with Salesforce. So whilst we do have the full CRM within the product, there are some customers who heavily invested in Salesforce and don't want to give it up. So there is also a native integration with that as well. So if anyone has any questions, more than happy, just pop it in the chat. Give it a couple of minutes, and then otherwise we'll wind it up. Another question that's come through around integration with MicroPay. So we do have, essentially we can integrate with anything. With payroll in particular, MYOB Advanced has its own built-in payroll called Advanced People, and that is really now quite a complete solution. And then there is also the workforce management solution that sits on top of that. So complete, without a third party at all, we can handle everything from onboarding new employees through to rostering, capturing time, awards interpretation, and payroll. So kind of all the way through the process, as well as employee self-service and leave management and approvals. So that's all available in-house. But then we do have clients that use third-party payrolls. And in that case, it's usually just a journal integration. And so we can do that from any source. That's pretty straightforward. So another question that's come through about Opmetrics. Opmetrics is a solution for field sales that quite a number of our clients use. That's available with both Exo and MYOB Advanced, absolutely. Yeah, so you don't have to change your Opmetrics system. You can just keep that same instance and then they can reintegrate that with MYOB Advanced as well. Awesome. While we're just waiting for some other questions, I will share with all participants next week, we're running another session with a few of our ISV partners. And so that will include Focus, who is a specialised reporting and data analytics tool. Expense Manager, who manage expense management and credit card management, as well as electronic OCR reading of invoices and feeding them directly into the system. And then Weka Online, who are an e-commerce provider, and they provide an integration from various different shopping carts back and forth to MYOB Advanced. So if any of you are interested in those solutions or in those sort of industries, do join us next week and they'll be showcasing their solutions. So I'll share the registration link for that. And all of those solutions integrate with both Exo and Advanced.
One other one, actually, Mark, in terms of the events that are coming up that MYOB is also hosting, there's the Unlimited Online event, which is on next week as well, which I think is a good opportunity for where we'll be focusing very much on the aspects that come about in terms of how you kind of lead through a digital transformation. And we're actually going to have a few really interesting speakers. So it's also worth having a look at that event. Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Val. I've got the link for that one as well. So I'll send both of them across to everyone who's attended today. So, yeah, thank you. All righty. We had a couple of minutes, but it looks like that's all the questions. But I know some people don't like to ask questions in public, so feel free to reach out to us afterwards. We'll be, touching base with all of you just to get feedback and see if there's anything you want, or just if you want to have a chance to have a think about it, and think of questions afterwards. Yeah, don't stress. We'll be in touch. So yeah, I guess I don't think there's anything else coming through immediately. So again, I just want to thank all of you for attending today and taking an hour out of your busy schedules. So I really do appreciate it. And yeah, again to Val for helping us out with the webinar and presenting everything from an MYOB perspective. It's been really great. So thank you so much. I do have a recording of this session which we'll share as well. So yeah, if you want to look back on anything, it will be available. Thanks everyone. Enjoy your afternoon. Thanks everyone. See ya.